Most gardeners think the answer to weeds is in a bottle, something you spray, walk away from, and never think about again. I believed that for a while too, and I wasted money, killed plants I wanted to keep, and still had weeds back within 3 weeks. So today I'm going to tell you what I actually use instead of Weedkiller, why it works better in the long run, and how I've managed to cut my weeding time down by roughly 80% compared to what I was doing 10 years ago. No chemicals, no expensive gadgets, just a system that actually holds. Here's what you're going to get out of the next few minutes. I'm going to walk you through the exact methods I use across every different part of my garden. Beds, borders, paths, patios, containers, lawn. I'm going to tell you which tools are worth buying and which ones are a waste of shelf space. I'm going to share the mulching approach that stopped me from hand weeding every other weekend. And I'm going to give you an honest verdict on weed-suppressing membrane, because you've probably seen it advertised, and you deserve a straight answer on whether it's worth using. Stick with me, because the section on paths alone could save you an entire summer of frustration. Let's start with the thing that nobody says out loud, but every experienced gardener eventually figures out. Weeding is not really about killing weeds. It's about timing and prevention. The gardeners who are constantly losing the battle are the ones who wait until the weeds are big, established, and already seeding. By that point, you're not gardening anymore, you're playing catch-up with a system that is working against you. The ones who win are the ones who get out there when the weeds are small, the soil is still moist from recent rain, and the roots haven't had time to anchor themselves properly. At that stage, a weed that would take you 2 minutes to dig out with a fork comes out with 2 fingers and a slight tug. That timing difference is everything. Now, before I get into tools and methods, I want to be clear about what we're actually dealing with. Not all weeds are the same problem, and treating them all the same way is one of the most common mistakes I see. There are 2 completely different categories, and they require completely different approaches. Perennial weeds are the ones that come back year after year from the same root system, even if you pull the top growth off. Bindweed, ground elder, dandelion, creeping thistle. These are the ones that will genuinely break your spirit if you don't understand what you're dealing with. Annual weeds, on the other hand, are plants that complete their entire life cycle in one season. They grow, flower, drop seed, and die. The seed is the problem. One hairy bittercress plant, something most people wouldn't even notice in a gravel drive, can produce over 600 seeds that fire out in every direction when the seed pod pops. That's why the timing rule matters so much with annuals. Get them before they flower, and you've stopped the next generation before it starts. Let me tell you about bindweed first, because if you have it, you already know it's in a different league from everything else. I've had bindweed in the back corner of my garden for years. It comes up through a gap in the fence from next door, which means I will never fully eliminate it. What I've learned is that you cannot poison your way out of a bindweed problem without also poisoning the soil around it, and even then it comes back from root fragments you missed. What actually works is persistence with the right tool. A border fork, not a spade, gives you more control in tight spaces between established plants. You work around the visible stem, follow the root down rather than just yanking from the top, and you get out as much of the white root system as you can each time. You're not going to get it all in one go, but every time you remove a section of root, you weaken the plant. After 3 seasons of doing this properly, my bindweed corner produces maybe a quarter of what it used to. That's a real result, and no chemical gave me that. Ground elder is another one worth talking about separately because its roots spread horizontally rather than going straight down, and that changes how you have to approach it. With ground elder, you need to dig wide, not just deep. I use a border spade for this, and I go at least 6 inches beyond where the visible stems are, because the root network extends well past the foliage you can see. Any fragment left behind will regrow. I spent 1 full afternoon clearing a 2 square meter patch of ground elder from a bed, and I filled an entire compost bucket just with roots. The following spring, I had a handful of new shoots to deal with, rather than the dense carpet I started with. That is progress. It takes patience, but it is absolutely reversible if you're systematic about it. Now here is something I tested in my own garden that I want to share because I don't hear it talked about much. Tool choice for perennial weeds matters more than technique. I spent years using whatever fork or spade was closest to hand. 2 seasons ago, I switched to using a dedicated narrow border fork for all my bed work, and the difference in how much root I recover per session is significant. A standard garden fork is too wide to maneuver between established clumps of perennials without disturbing the plants you want to keep. The border fork, which typically has tines about 2/3 the width of a full fork, lets you get in close, angle down precisely, and lever up a root without destroying the surrounding soil structure. If you don't own one, it is probably the most useful $30 investment you can make this season. All right, now we get to the part that changed everything for me: mulching. I want to give you the full picture here because most people either don't do it at all or they do it wrong and then wonder why it didn't work. A mulch is simply a layer of material applied to the surface of your soil that physically blocks light from reaching weed seeds. No light, no germination, no weed. It's not complicated, but the application has to be right. Too thin and it doesn't work. Too thick in the wrong places and you can create conditions for fungal problems around plant stems. The depth that actually works for weed suppression is a minimum of 2 inches. I've tested 1-inch layers, and while they look nice and tidy, determined annual weeds push through within 6 weeks. At 2 inches, applied over clean soil with the perennial weeds already dealt with, I typically get 4 to 5 months of genuine suppression through peak growing season. That's 4 to 5 months where I'm not out there hand-weeding those beds every weekend. Do the math on what your time is worth, and mulching becomes an obvious decision. Bark chip is what I use in most of my ornamental beds. It breaks down slowly, it looks clean and professional, and while it doesn't add much in the way of immediate nutrition, it does improve soil structure gradually as it decomposes. For vegetable beds and areas where you want faster nutrient release, well-rotted garden compost does double duty as a mulch and a soil conditioner, though you need to watch it more closely, because it also provides a great germination medium for wind-blown seeds once the surface dries out. In a veg plot, I tend to use compost early in the season, and then switch to straw mulch once plants are established, because straw suppresses surface seeding better. One thing I want to be honest with you about is the weed-suppressing membrane question. You've seen it in garden centers. It comes in rolls, it's made of a woven or non-woven fabric, and it promises to stop weeds permanently. I have used it in 3 different areas of my garden over the years, and here is my honest verdict after observing those areas for between 3 and 7 years each. Membrane works well for the first 2 to 3 years. After that, enough organic material accumulates on top of it, blown in by wind and dropped from plants above, that weeds start growing in that surface layer rather than in the soil below. The membrane becomes a layer the roots sit above rather than a genuine barrier. In my experience, it is best suited for paths and areas where you're not going to disturb the soil, and even then it needs a layer of bark or gravel on top to protect it from UV degradation. Under ornamental beds where you're regularly adding plants and working the soil, I don't think it delivers long-term value, and removing it after 5 years when it starts to degrade is genuinely unpleasant work. If you want to use it for hard landscaping areas, not your borders. Let's talk about the areas of the garden that give people the most trouble when it comes to weeds, and start with gravel paths and driveways. I want you to understand why weeds love gravel before I tell you how to deal with them there. Gravel creates an almost perfect microclimate for annual weed seeds. The stones shelter the seeds from wind, and the surface layer dries out quickly, but the soil underneath stays moist. Seeds drop down into the gaps, find that ideal warm, damp zone, and germinate at a rate that can look almost deliberate. The most common culprit in most gravel drives is hairy bittercress, and as I mentioned earlier, one plant left to seed becomes hundreds of new plants within weeks. The right tool for gravel weeds is a Dutch hoe, and the right technique is skimming, not digging. You are not trying to dig the weed out with a hoe in gravel. You're using the flat blade to slice just below the surface, severing the root from the stem. The weed top is then exposed on the surface of the gravel in direct sun and dies within a day or two. This works best when the weather is dry and sunny. If you try it when rain is coming, there's a real chance the severed weed recovers and re-roots. I time my hoe sessions specifically around dry spells for exactly this reason. Done on the right day with the right technique, I can clear a 30-foot gravel path in about 20 minutes and get 4 to 6 weeks of clean results. If you have a patio or terrace with weeds coming up between paving slabs, you need a different approach again. Those joints between slabs fill with fine soil and debris over time and become perfect germination zones. The tool I reach for is a flat patio knife, sometimes called a pointing knife. You run it along the joints and lift out both the weed and the accumulated debris that would just provide a seedbed for the next generation. It's slightly tedious, but the satisfying part is that once the joint is properly clear and repointed, you can go a full season without weeds there, because there's no longer any material for them to root into. I've also had good results using a stiff bristled brush to clear the channels after the knife work, which removes the fine debris the knife loosens but doesn't extract. Here is a tip I don't see anyone talk about for patio maintenance, and it genuinely works. After clearing and repointing your joints, brush in dry polymeric sand rather than standard building sand. Polymeric sand contains binding agents that harden when wet and become much less hospitable to weed seeds than regular jointing compound. The difference in how long a cleaned patio stays clean is dramatic. Joints I've done with polymeric sand have stayed weed-free for 2 full seasons. Standard sand I was re-weeding within a couple of months. The lawn is its own battle, and I want to address it honestly because a lot of gardeners in the 45 to 65 age group are dealing with lawns that have been neglected and have a significant weed problem. The rosette weeds are the ones that defeat standard mowing because they grow flat against the ground and the mower blade passes over them entirely. Daisies, plantain, dandelion. If you want a genuinely weed-free lawn organically, you need 2 tools and some regular attention. A daisy grubber, which is a small forked tool specifically designed to slide under the flat rosette and lever it out intact, handles daisies and similar low-growing weeds effectively. For the tap-rooted weeds like dandelion and plantain, a narrow-bladed lawn weeder that you push straight down alongside the taproot and use as a lever to pop it out whole is the right approach. The key with taprooted weeds is to get the root out intact. Snap it off halfway down and it regrows. Get it all the way out and it's gone. I want to add something here from my own observation over multiple seasons of doing this. Lawn weeds are almost always a symptom of thin grass coverage rather than just bad luck. A thick, vigorously growing lawn physically crowds out weed seedlings before they get established because there's no bare soil for them to germinate in. The lawn areas where I have the most persistent weed problems are exactly the same areas where the grass is thinnest, typically due to shade, compaction, or poor drainage. Fixing those underlying conditions with overseeding, aeration, or improved drainage does more to reduce lawn weeds long-term than any amount of grubbing. I overseeded a thin patch beside my terrace 2 years ago, and the dandelion population in that specific area dropped by about 70% the following season, simply because the grass filled in and left no room for them. Before I wrap up, I want to give you one more original piece of advice that took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out. The single biggest multiplier in the whole system is containers and pots. Most gardeners focus all their weeding attention on the open beds and completely ignore their containers, especially through winter. What happens is this: weed seeds blow in and germinate in the moist surface of pot compost. They establish quickly because container compost is typically richer and more friable than garden soil. And then they compete directly with your plants in the most resource-limited environment in your whole garden. A 12-inch pot has a finite amount of water and nutrients. A single established weed in that pot is stealing a meaningful proportion of what your plants need. I checked 3 of my pots last November that I hadn't cleared and found bittercress, shepherd's purse, and 2 grass seedlings, all rooted in alongside the overwintering plants. Clear your containers before winter. It takes 10 minutes and it removes a problem that would otherwise compound itself through spring. So here's where I land on all of this. Weedkiller is not the answer. It's a delay. It doesn't fix the conditions that allow weeds to establish. It doesn't address perennial root systems properly, and it absolutely does not prevent seeds from arriving. The approach that actually works is a system. You get the timing right by acting on weeds when they're small and before they seed. You use the right tool for each category of weed and each area of the garden. You apply mulch at the correct depth over clean soil in your beds and borders. You address the structural reasons your lawn or beds are thin and vulnerable. And you don't ignore the containers. Pick one area of your garden today, not this weekend, today, and spend 30 minutes doing it right. Clear it completely, get the roots out properly, and then put down 2 inches of mulch if it's a bed. One section done properly beats a whole garden done halfway. Start there and build the system from there.